All right, this is Michael Zwick from If Not For God with Mike Zwick, and I've got my new friend here, Trey Smith. And if you're one of the two people out in the world who hasn't heard of Trey Smith, he's got millions of followers on YouTube. He does Rumble and everything else. But man, this guy is absolutely on fire. But before we started to do this show, the Lord took me to a Bible verse, and it was Luke 8:17. And it says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." And Trey, the Lord has given you an anointing for exposing some of the darkness. Is that right?
Well, it's just kind of happened a lot. You know, probably for all the people that are watching this video, the Lord's put that on them as well. But there's a lot of dark. You know, you might even be in a time where just telling the truth seems really absurd. It's the darkness is pretty prevalent. It's easy to point it out.
Yeah. So what got you into this? The sharing the videos and everything. How did you?
Well, so the first, so God in a nutshell. What we first did a lot of was videos that kind of dealt with science stuff. So so one of the first videos that I ever did was called "The Theory of Everything," and it walked through why evolution wasn't true. Now, in this age that you and I are talking, that's a pretty common belief. You probably even with people that you know, there's probably a lot of them that doubt evolution. But even in Christian circles, and this is probably better than a decade ago now that I did that video, I was terrified. Because this was at the time. So Kent Aveen was, and this is a man I'm sure your audience is probably familiar with, or if they're not, this was a man that had gone to. He would go to the high schools and the junior highs, and he would offer to debate atheists and the professors, and most of them would enter these debates, and they would feel like they were going to cut this dumb Christian to shreds. But by the end of it, you would see them. I mean, some of the most fun atheist debates. There are two different guys. One would be Bob Enyart. Bob Enyart with his Lawrence Krauss debate, he tore Lawrence Krauss to shreds. And Kent Aveen with many of these high school science teachers, they would even team up. It would be 5 and 6 of them against Kent, and they would all huddle together for their answers, and Kent would still just tear them to shreds, right? And the problem was that the kids that would be in the bleachers would be cheering for Kent by the end of it, because their own teachers were looking stupid. Well, this was bothering the establishment, and they were hitting him with tax problems also. I mean, he began showing up to these meetings and stating, "You can keep hitting me with tax issues and all these, frivolous civil suits, but I'm just going to keep coming," right? Mm-hmm. And then he started going to the universities, and one of them that he went to is wherever Richard Dawkins is. And Richard Dawkins refused to come out of his office. And now Richard's excuse later was that, he's just too good for that, right? Mm-hmm. But, I'm just too good. I can't. No, he was in there terrified because he knew that if he walked out of there, he was going to have to face Kent Aveen. They probably snuck him out of the back of the building later. But it wasn't long after that Kent was getting what would be considered serious criminal charges. And these were, again, this stuff with the FBI these were federal charges. So this was a federal agent that was going after Kent Aveen. And finally arrests him. They did this whole televised pulling Kent out of the house, just like they did with Roger Stone. He's in the pajamas, the wife's in the pajamas. They pull him out of the house. And the charge was called structuring, what the charges were. Now, and a lot of people, myself included at that time, thought that Kent might have actually done something wrong with his taxes or whatever because he commonly complained about taxes. Mm-hmm. What it turned out was these charges were withdrawing amounts of money from his own bank accounts and amounts over $200. So, and Kent and his attorney had thought, well, even if I get convicted of this, it's so stupid because How can that be a crime? He got 7 years for this, and the charge is actually withdrawing his own money from his own bank account.
Jeez.
How does a charge like that even exist? Now, here's where it even gets worse. I can't remember the officer's name, but this guy, so after he does this claimed big bust on Kent Havind, this guy gets arrested at an airport showing up to see a young boy, like 13 or 14 years old, that was another set of police officers doing a sting operation.
Yeah.
And this guy had Vaseline and children's clothes and little girls' clothes. And I mean, he was showing up to party after he had busted a Christian, and he was going to go be together with the 13-year-old kid. Yet still, Kent Havind gets, I think he did 7 years in prison. So, this thing now where people see the censorship and see all of the things that the courts are doing, these things were going on back then, but no one knew about them. And it was kind of in the haze of all that, I'm making an anti-evolution video, and what I considered a fairly strong one, and I was. I was a little nervous about all of that, but I think what the bad guys have done, if you will, they've just kind of, that's where it started with God in a Nutshell, was videos that were they were science, and they fought evolution, and now at this point, there have been numerous videos that we have done that have focused on some of the prophecies of Kim Clement. And one of the first ones, or the first one that I did, was called Trump, the Coming Landslide. And this went up this went up probably about 6 months before the 2016 election. And at the time that it went up, I think that so I'd never had a video skyrocket so quickly, and I'm not sure if that happened because the people at these different places believed that it. I think they really believed that Hillary was going to win, and I think that if we were to know what all went wrong that day, from the bad guys' side of it, that they were, I know even the Google guys came out of the building and they were like kicking and spitting, and something went poorly for them, right? This was more than just we thought Hillary had the votes. This is like, we the fix was in, dude. Why did our horse, I injected the shot in that horse, man. That thing should have won, right? Yeah. But no, that's what we've done: prophecy videos and science videos, and once in a while, some of it's been correct.
But one of the things that really fascinated my wife and me last night as well was that you look at numbers.
Yeah, so you were talking about the Joe Biden. Well, that kind of tells you where the source of some of it is. So in the COVID thing, a common one with COVID has 6 letters to it. And then if you take, the C would be, for example, the number 3, and you go down and you add these up, you're going to come to 66. And of course, during COVID, they wanted everyone to stand 6 feet apart. And then if you take 2020, and that's the year of the election, and you divide it by 666. By the way, that's the lucky number in China. So a lot of people don't know that, but 6 is Chinese. That's their big lucky number. That and the dragon, right? So we love the dragon and the 6. But and they would call Joe China Joe. But if you divide these, you'd get 3.0330, and this was the number you would text for Biden and Harris. And I think there's a set of people that have just been laughing about this the entire time. I was looking. Let me tell you another example. So I was going through some rock and roll videos, some Marilyn Manson stuff. Actually, probably a couple of weeks ago. And I started watching some of these music videos that have all of these views on them. And one of them was called The Dope Show. And so I'm thinking, this video, this Marilyn Manson video, they're going to be promoting to kids to, use drugs or whatever, and they're going to, display this in the music video, but it wasn't. So the video starts with Marilyn Manson is tied up in the back of a limousine, okay? And there are media people kind of laughing at him, or he's tied up, he's gagged, like with one of these kind of sexual-looking gags, and they're laughing about as they're driving through the desert to some facility. Then they're going to hook him up to machines where blood is. So how does this go along with the Dope Show?
Yeah.
You see my point? What am I watching? And then he's strapped to a thing, and we're injecting to get blood out of him. You see my point? Like, what have these two things got to do with each other?
Right.
And there were several of these. Right. We're all stars now in the Dope Show or something like this.
Yeah.
And but the song, the imagery for it is some secure facility in the desert. You're going there by limousine, so it's a bunch of rich people, like a Chinese dude and some celebrities. They're partying, and then we're hooking this guy up to machines that are going to get the blood out of him.
That's right.
And then, what am I really being told here in this video? What am I being told? And quite a few of them are like this. And all the transsexual stuff. Mm-hmm. So you had, and anyhow, I think you're. I think a lot of the. I think if there was one thing that Donald Trump has done is it's exposing things that were already happening. Things that were supposed to go. They were supposed to kind of wine and dine you into the transsexual thing. They were supposed to sort of wine and dine you into the Satanist thing, but there was a breaking in that he caused.
There was an exposure.
Yeah.
So and so you've seen a lot of things, and I've heard, they say, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? About 6 months. So
not much.
But you've seen that as well.
Well, that's what all the articles start with now, right? So most every article that you read will say Carrie Lake, a conspiracy theorist, Sidney Powell, a conspiracy theorist, Rudy Giuliani. He wasn't mayor of New York. He's a conspiracy theorist, right? Sydney, she's not a noteworthy attorney. No, it's a conspiracy theorist, and that's what those articles That's what those articles read forever about Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And I for one am pretty thankful for Alex Gene. He's gotten stuff wrong, but here's a guy that's like screaming at you. There's a train coming. You're on the tracks, and that's what he's been doing for years. And even his Sandy Lake thing, which I won't. I'm going to be, very limited on that. But he kept arguing about all these school shootings, which you had a lot of these happening during Obama. And that particular one, I hadn't thought much about it, but think of the gravity of that. $1.2 billion as a punishment for that, and then you go look at that. And I'm going to be very careful. Boy, that was an awful weird. I was looking at back channel. I never even thought about the Sandy Hook thing until after they hit him with that large suit, and then I go back and I start looking at some of the documentaries put up on Rumble or BitChute that people have said, here's the list of weird things about Sandy Hook. And of school shootings, that one looks peculiarly strange.
Yeah. Then and there's I'll just say this: there's a lot of actors out there.
There's questions about all of it. With we probably ought to let it go. And what Alex did. So and I've watched Alex Jones do this a few times, and I'm not sure. There might be some good lessons to learn from Alex, because I think what he thought he could do with that one is just say, okay, guys, it's exactly what y'all said it was. Look, I'm sorry, let's just move along. But instead of moving along, what they began running Article C, he just admitted that he was lying about all of it. See what they did? And, he's just admitted that it was all the way we said. And so Alex is... and many of these lawsuits, so let's take the Dominion one, for example. So Dominion settled out with, or Fox News settled out with Dominion for
$700 million or so, yeah.
Right. But if the company Dominion, so normally the way that a lawsuit would work, so if the company Dominion had a value of $40 million, which is I think what they reported, or roughly, and that might not even be true, but let's just take that as a number. So if you have a value, or Tim or anybody else has a value of $40 million, how would you get damaged how would you even claim that, right? How would you get damaged for $700 million if your value was only 40? You see that? And the same thing with Alex Jones. I mean, the Alex Jones show, I don't know what Alex's show is worth, but it's not worth $1.2 billion. And how would you even, and these are damn, like somebody was offended, right? Somebody was upset by what you said, so that's obviously $1.2 billion. And, but I believe that the Lord's put all of those people there, including Alex and his, and his screaming and his sneaking into Bohemia Grove to look at their owl. And if you remember years back, you probably showed, at least I showed clips of that to family members, and they said, oh, that can't be real. So it's kind of, for all of us, been a slow process of coming to see that the darkness is, I mean, you never would have looked at the Marilyn Manson video 10 years ago and thought to yourself, I wonder if he's really talking about, I mean, you wouldn't have thought that at all, right? But now you look at it and you're like, wait a second.
Maybe, yeah.
What is he telling me he's doing? Right?
Yeah.
And where did the money come from to put together all of these videos? When I started asking that as well, and that's just one instance, but here's this Marilyn Manson character, and maybe there's a good answer, but here's all of these, I know a little about video stuff, and I know that these videos that are put together, each one is at least several $1 million. And suddenly you've got this strange-looking guy that comes right out of thin blue air, right? And he's got $2 or $3 million apiece to pop on all of these videos and make all of these music videos. And the theme of the music videos is we're in a limo and we're going to a secure facility in the desert, and where we're going to get blood. And then he had another one where you've got, all of them were creepy, actually. I guess that's the theme of it, but they're extra creepy. He had another one where they're in a castle and there's all these little kids in rooms. And there's this one little girl, and she's digging through, and she gets a brick loose, and she sneaks out of the castle, and then she comes up in the yard somewhere, and she's trying to run to get away from people, and then they catch her in the end, and that's the end of the video. And I thought, what is the message of the, what are they? What's right? Yeah, who is this video even talking to? Right? What am I watching? But I think we're going to win, man. I hope so.
Well, I actually saw one of your videos last night, and you said that there's a lot of people who were just saying that things are bad, they're going to stay bad, they're not going to get any better. But you said that you have some hope. Is that right?
I think we're going to win. I think probably if we could see behind the scenes, I think these people are pulling their hair out. Very likely all the things that they've dreamed So, these plans they've been walking through, they wanted to take everything from all of us that are in this room. And they had a plan that, ordinarily would do that. And I don't think it's Donald Trump or anybody else that's really got in their way. I think they've challenged the Lord, and He's answering their challenge. And each part of their thing, I don't think their COVID thing went the way they wanted. I think if we could honestly, I think that was planned to go on for years. You were going to have boosters forever. You were going to have, had Hillary got in, you would have had the COVID thing, and you would have had war with somebody. You would have had all these troubles, but we'd all be medical experiments here, man.
Yeah. I mean, and I watched another one of your videos last night as well. You had mentioned that Pastor Henry Schaefer had a dream back in 2018.
Yeah.
And it was something with the train tracks.
Yeah, I didn't want to believe him. I thought I thought that he said that it didn't. I mean, he said that. He had this dream that there were these dark tracks, and that it was 2023, the year we're in now, and it felt dark, and at the time that he had this dream was, Trump was in office, the economy was doing very well. I mean, it's hard to even remember that now, right? Because it seems like another world, but the economy was doing well. Every day on the news, they were, the numbers were good. Things looked pretty promising, and Henry was stating in 2023, it's going to be dark, and people are going to be wondering what's going to happen, and it's and there were these dark railroad tracks.
Sure.
And I told him at the time that I thought it was probably a warning, or, man, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And everything's wonderful now in the United States, so he was wrong, right?
Right. No, I doubt it. He got that. He got that, and I knew that there was something about Henry that I knew it was correct even when I didn't want it to be.
Yeah. But so when you say you see that there's hope, is there anything that you've seen into the future? I know a lot of people have seen a lot of bad stuff. I've seen some bad stuff. I've seen food shortages. I've seen water shortages. I actually saw the lights going out in a dream that I had. So, but what do you see? I mean, have you had any prophetic either visions or dreams about the future?
Not personally, no, not personally. But but that's a great point. I'd like to begin asking the Lord for that. But so no. What I've mainly done is I've kind of broken down some of these things that Kim Clement had said, and I've done that for quite a few years now, and I believe that the Lord gave Kim those words for the hours that we're in.
Sure. And
in those, Kim said some heavy things. He said that the betrayers in the White House would be hung. That's one that that's one that nobody plays very much, because it would get you censored. So it's one to kind of be careful with, even to edit out of this if you put it on. But he said that all of these things, that a lot of these real heavy things would go down in the second presidency from now. So these are all clips that he had, and so that prophecy was given during Obama. So any way you cut it, that would be right now. He said that they're going to try to do something in the White House to take the White House down. Go ahead.
That's it. I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that. He said you were going to get physically attacked, and I'm guessing by China, but I don't know what that means. He also prayed against the blood of martyrs in the streets. He kept stating that so one of the things he said is, in the end of all of this, here's what I think goes down, man. They're gonna hit you with the weather stuff. Okay, that's probably going to be. Imagine somebody steals your wallet, and you're like, dude, give my wallet back. But there's a group of them, and they push you backwards. They're like, dude, we didn't take your wallet, right?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, man, you just destroyed like our island Maui with your weather, dude. We didn't destroy. Man, it's because you're driving your car, dude.
It's climate change.
You caused it by driving your car, bro. Obviously, you know.
Right.
And then you're like, bro, you just took my laptop, bro. That ain't your laptop. That's my laptop. And then you're like, people. These people just stole my laptop, and they're like, this guy is crazy. He's a conspiracy. He's a nutcase. You've got to stop this, man. This is my wallet. This is my laptop.
Yeah.
You're not. So they're gonna keep. So it's this weird kind of psychological war, but at the end of that. So at the point, so you're seeing people get fed up with it. Kim said they're going to come across your screens, and I think it's these things here.
Yeah.
That there's going to be, he said they're going to come across your screens, and they're going to get you to understand that we are in charge, and people are going to become very afraid. And Kim said, "Am I impressed with your weapons of war or the strength of your men's legs?" I said I would bring this nation, he means America, to its knees. You have been humbled, and yet some more, and then you will hear the sounds of great victory. And I don't. So I don't think we've. Well, I know we haven't hit those parts yet, but I think by the time that this is done, it will. You'll be ready for it to be done, and I think it'll be scary enough. So if you want to know when will the darkness end, here's the way to figure that out. So you've got a Democrat friend probably somewhere. So somebody that you don't often take calls from, okay? So now you look at that guy and you say, what would it take for that guy to change his mind? And the answer to that is probably terrifying, right?
Right.
That's how deep it's got to go. Like for that guy to be like, I think I might have been wrong, right?
Right.
So for that moment of like epiphany to break. So
it's nothing minor.
No, it's not. In fact, it could like really anger you at that guy. You might even want to help the dark people get to that guy to, like, hey man, there's. I'm kidding about that, but you were thinking about it, weren't you? Like, you were like, bro, if you're not getting the message, I've come with Marilyn Manson. We're gonna hook you up to the blood machine. Where are we going in this limo? We're gonna show you. We're going to Democrat Funland. You're gonna really like it. So don't worry about the I think we're going to win. But even if we don't, we're going to. But, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they said, our God will save us. But even if he doesn't, we're not going to bow. And they're going to do a bunch of weathers. Bro, they're mad as hell. They had this set up, man. Yeah. And they were going to own it all. They were going to sit back and be kings and queens and zap you with lasers from the sky. Right. They were going to turn America into a wildlife preserve, just like on their 2050 maps. And they're going to put you in smart cities. And if you're not working for them, they could probably zap you from a distance with the vaccines they're putting in you. Yeah. They were just going to have all sorts of fun. And now it's going sideways on them. So they're very upset. And but that's good for us, man.
That's good for us. And it's in I think it's Psalm 1 or 2 where it says the Lord sees the people planning basically against him, and it says that he laughs at their plans. He laughs at them. And so we don't need to bow the knee to Baal. But God eventually does win in the end. And so Trey Smith, and it's Trey Smith. If people want to find you online, how can they find you?
Just godinanutshell.com, and we're over there, and sometimes we get something right, and so thank you very much for looking at our things.
Thank you very much.
All right.
God bless you.
God bless you, man.